How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Mullen Automotive that finished just over 4% on the day. We ended up getting some news, which I'm going to be sharing in this video, but I want to make sure you guys are prepared for this coming week. I did a video on Sunday letting you guys know what the price action can look like. Many were sending me some feedback. Thank you for getting me prepared. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for Mullen. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $2.45, being up 4.26%. On the low, it tested $2.40, and then on the high, testing $2.78. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 145.423 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 277.874 million shares. So we did have below average volume on the day, and it's part of the reasons why we saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is the daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it is at 54.48. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, the 100-day, but we are above the 50-day and as well as the 21-day EMA. So as far as for the low of today, we got down to $2.40. So going into tomorrow, if we end up breaking through this level, we want to see if support can hold at $2. If it doesn't hold at $2, that's where I'm going to be looking for that gap to be filled to the downside, which is right around 179. Now, as far as for a bullish move now, we need to get above the high of the day. So that was at 278. So most preferably, you'd want to see Mullen going back to the $3 level. This would be very key. And I feel like buyers would want to step in and push the stock further. But again, if you go to 3 and you see that there's some selling pressure, we're just going to continue to consolidate within the zone until the stock starts breaking down. But do know we have earnings that is coming up on March the 30th. So I know many are going to be keeping their eyes on that. And depending on the type of updates that we get from earnings, it could be very interesting to see how this stock actually performs. So let's see if there's anticipation leading up to this date, but it's definitely going to have to hold up $2.40 going into tomorrow. So let's move on to the short interest information. Now let's take a look at the short interest information for Mullen. So for the off-exchange to short volume ratio, it's at 31.28%. And then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 35.33 million shares. Scrolling down further on the page, the short shares availability is at 0, updated 5 minutes ago. And then for the short borrow fee rate, at the max, it was at 17.75%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 24th, it was at 36.81. And then for the close of the 25th, being at 31.28. So what this shows us, Mullen does have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for MULN. So we see on the inflow it's at 70.21 and then on the outflow it's at 67.66. So we had an inflow day, and keep in mind these numbers are in the millions. Taking a look at the large, it was 24.03. On the medium, it was 36.94, and then on the small, it was 9.24. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large it was 27.38. On the medium, it was 32.63, and then on the small, it was 7.65. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for March the 28th, we had an outflow of 3.35 million. Analyzing numbers even further for the small scale orders that tends to represent the retail side, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the large, which represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 418.72%. So we know this is always going to be high for a stock like Mullen. It is extremely volatile. We've seen it in the 1000% range, and I think in the previous video, I think it was around like 500. So we're seeing a continuation of this, of it being liquid. And as we get closer to earnings, this is why I'm not surprised, and this is why you have to be prepared and have a game plan if you are jumping into it. So let's go into the final thoughts, and we'll go over some more details as well. So for my final thoughts for Mullen, before we get started, let's go over the recent press release that got the shares rising today. So let's get it. Mullen Automotive Inc. shares were up 11% to $2.61 after your electric vehicle company said it expects to report more than $65 million in cash and cash equivalents when it files its second quarter Form 10Q. Mullen in November began trading on the NASDAQ and said that since its first quarter as a public company, starting in the fourth quarter 2021, it has debuted two versions of the Mullen 5 show cars and unveiled the purchase of a vehicle manufacturing facility in Tunica, Mississippi. As Q2 2022 draws to a close, Mullen is expecting to report over $65 million in cash and cash equivalents on hand for continued momentum and programs development, the company said. Mullen said it recently unveiled a string of partnerships for EV powertrain, engineering, manufacturing, vehicle production, systems, and over-the-air and vehicle system diagnostics. With the financing we receive, we now have more than enough capital to execute on our commitment for 2022, including the start of the Mullen 5 EV crossover program and continued development on the Mullen 1 EV cargo van program. The company's balance sheet is the strongest that it has ever been in our history, Chief Executive David Mashiri said. So this is definitely some great news coming out of Mullen. Knowing that they have this kind of cash on hand so they can go forward as far as achieving their goals gives a lot of confidence to shareholders, because many know that Mullen is known as a speculative play. Again, having a short squeeze potential, seeing those strong moves in price action. And I know there's many investors who are in this play and they're probably going to be looking to buy some more after getting this news. But again, we need to get some more information, especially when earnings does come around. As far as for the price action now, we need to hold $2.40 going into tomorrow. If we cannot hold it, then the next area of support that needs to hold is right at $2. And breaking through $2, you know that we have a gap that needs to be filled to the downside, which is around $1.78. So I know many people are actually looking for an entry in this particular area, or actually give the stock more of a look when it's trading in this area. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind of. But in order for us to see a bullish reversal, or just to see bulls stepping in and bringing the stock price back up, it needs to get back above 278. The moment it gets above 278, that's where we get to that psychological level right at $3. There will be some selling, people taking profits, maybe people who are holding on to this stock, waiting, and so forth. So that's one thing you want to keep in consideration. But buying volume and having more traders coming into the play can help push it further, and we can get back to where we tested around $4. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the short interest information, it does continue to have short squeeze potential, and that's part of the reasons why you've seen it everywhere on social media and many people who are buying into the stock, because you know they're trying to see some profits inside of the play. But one thing that I want to be clear about with this recent press release that did come out, this does change a lot of things, because what we know, they have that cash on hand. We're going to be assuming they're not going to need to do any offerings anytime soon, saying that, you know what, the cash that we do have, we're able to achieve these particular goals that we have set out for ourselves, so we won't be going to shareholders to get some more money. So I know that's going to be a very big time confidence boost for anyone that's looking to put any money into this play. For myself, I rather just trade it strictly off the momentum. But if you want to swing it and say buy inside the lows, looking for it to go to the highs, I feel that is perfectly fine as well. Of course, this is not financial advice, but I just want to make sure you have a strategy in place. Know what your entry is going to be, and also know what your exit is going to be. You just don't want to get caught watching the stock, especially if you're not interested in being a long-term investor. I want to make sure I'm being very clear about that, because I want to make sure you are thinking clearly before you push that buy button, of course. So I can't wait to see how this stock performs going into tomorrow, and of course, I'll be keeping you guys inside of the loop. We'll talk soon.